This is a real life incident that happened some years ago. One of my friends told me about this. The company in which he was working then had hired a consultant who used to come from abroad and used to spend 1 week every month in this company doing various improvement projects. So, this company had hired one cab, a taxi, and a driver to pick up the consultant on the day of his arrival, and then that taxi would ferry him around wherever he wanted to go, to different offices and plants of the company, and to the hotel where he used to stay, till on the last day that same taxi would drop him back to the airport to catch his flight. So this was the set routine, and every during every visit the same taxi and the same driver used to pick him up and then eventually drop him back to the airport. And this was going on for 1.5 years, 18 months. Then during one of the visits, suddenly that consultant found that the driver that had come to pick him up that day was a different one. The taxi was the same, the car was the same, but the driver was different. So he just inquired what happened to his regular driver. And this replacement driver said he has some work at his native place, something urgent has come up. So he has gone there for a few weeks and later he will be back and then he will resume his duty. So the consultant said, okay, fine. And that visit and another visit 1 month later, also the same replacement driver was there. Now what happened during the second visit is, on the day when he was to be dropped back to the airport, while on way to the airport, suddenly the car developed a snag. There was smoke coming out from the bonnet and the driver had to pull aside, and he opened the bonnet and checked. And what he found was all the water from the radiator had drained out, and there was also a small hole in the hose pipe connecting radiator to the engine. And since all the water had drained out, the engine cooling was not happening, and that is what was creating that smoke. So the driver started thinking what to do now, because there was no mechanic anywhere close by, and also there were no auto spare part shops from where he could have got another hose pipe. The consultant in the meantime was getting very anxious because he had to catch his flight back. He had some other work after returning home. So he started pleading with the driver to do something. Okay. Then this driver got an idea. He took off his shirt, he tore it and tied it around that hose pipe where there was this hole, and then got a jug of water from a restaurant nearby, filled up the radiator, and that arrangement, jugaad as we call it, was good enough to reach that consultant to the airport. And he reached there on time. He was very delighted and he gave a substantial cash reward to that driver and quickly left in a hurry to catch his flight. Once on the flight, he started thinking why this kind of incident has not happened in the entire duration of 1.5 years when that previous driver was serving him, and why it happened when this replacement driver is there and it has happened within 2 months when the car is the same. Is it coincidence or is there any relationship? So on his next visit, when he came back, the regular driver had resumed. So he just related the incident to that regular driver, and that driver immediately said, sir, every few days I check whether there is enough water in the radiator and there is enough air pressure in the tires and so on. So I take care of the car, and if the water level is down, I top it up. And so my colleague didn't do that. As a result, all the water drained out and it caused a problem. So then the consultant realized that a person who has been diligently doing his work and avoided the problem, okay, he never gave him a substantial cash reward. But the person who actually didn't do his duty properly, because of which it resulted in a problem, and then he solved the problem, which looked very glamorous and attractive at that point in time, because he was in a hurry to catch the flight and he was pleased and gave him a cash reward. So he corrected this by giving a bigger reward to his original driver. But the point here is that it is normal human tendency to quickly create perceptions about what we see and hear without getting into details of what exactly has happened behind the scene. As a result, in companies also, many times it can happen that if the person who is solving the problem, if we dive deeper, we might find that the problem got created because of that same person's negligence or carelessness. Okay, but at that time we don't check it, and everybody is frustrated and in dealing with that problem, and when somebody solves it, they are delighted, and that person who solved it gets a reward. So now that we know about this human tendency, we should be more careful, and every time before rewarding, we must just do a background check to confirm that the reward is really deserved. Okay, because even if the people who are deciding the reward, even if they don't know about it, still the colleagues of the person who is getting rewarded very well know that what had happened behind the scene. And giving rewards like this then becomes demotivating for those silent performers, okay, whose contribution is very important for the company. So remember, from here on, while giving it, of course we must give rewards, but we must confirm that the candidates to whom it is being given, it is really a deserving case, and not that the problem was caused because of the negligence and carelessness of that person in the first place.